you know, I cook my rice in the oven. So this is what I like to call a one-pot wonder. On this board, I have some boneless, skinless thighs that I have seasoned. I just use pepper, a little Tony's, some garlic powder, onion powder, and also on here are some fresh herbs. I had a little leftover poultry blend in the fridge, and I just kind of chopped that up and put it on the top of the chicken just for a little added flavor. I use poultry seasoning all the time. The poultry herb blend is rosemary, thyme, and sage. Most of the time you don't see people break it out until Thanksgiving. Me, on the other hand, if I'm cooking poultry, I pretty much use it. So I'm going to get this chicken into a really hot pan to brown on both sides. I'm going to remove it once it's browned and then saute some aromatics. I have onions, bell pepper, carrots, some garlic. I would put celery in this too. Actually, I'm going to put celery in this too, but I don't have any fresh celery, so I'm going to use some Cajun mirepoix, which is just celery, onion, and bell pepper that I have from the freezer that I'm going to use to impart the celery flavor. So I'm just going to put this chicken in this pan here. Brown on both sides. One thing I want to note about this dish, right? Because as you know, rice can be very gummy if you over stir. So one little note I want to add is I already have some water on the flame. It's just got 4 tablespoons of better than bouillon added. This recipe is going to have 4 cups of rice cooked, which is 2 cups of rice uncooked. That's 4 cups of water in there and 4 teaspoons of the better than bouillon, because it's 4 teaspoons to 8 ounces. You brown your chicken on both sides. So I'm going to brown all of this chicken. This is probably about 2.5 to 3 pounds. I'm not serving rice with a little chicken on the top. This is chicken and rice, so don't be stingy. Also, if you're a person that doesn't like dark meat, right, which I can't see why you wouldn't want to try out the boneless, skinless chicken thigh. Chicken breast is not something you can cook forever. Once it gets overcooked, it's very dry, hard to chew, chalky. This stuff, it'll go as long as you need it to go. It's very forgiving. So I would advise, if you're going to do something that's going to cook for a relatively long amount of time, that you try a piece of dark meat. Our chicken looks like it's just about ready to turn over. In this process, you're not looking for the chicken to cook through. Remember, this is all going to go in the oven, so you don't have to be too concerned about your chicken being done at this phase. What you're looking for in this phase is just some color on the chicken. Okay? Also, once we get our chicken browned and we get all of our aromatics nicely sauteed, I'm going to deglaze with some dry white wine. It's always a good thing to have stocked in your pantry. And to make it a little creamy, I'm going to add in to the mixture, when the rice cooks in the oven, this can of condensed soup. I would advise you to go with whatever type of soup you prefer. If you want just mushroom, I mean, be creative. And of course, whatever type you go for, you can also add in some of that flavor in with your rice as well. Maybe some chopped mushrooms to enhance the flavor of the soup. You know, I'm just going with whatever I have on hand. I'm just going to remove this chicken that's nicely browned on the other side from the pan. Get our other chicken in. Nice and golden brown. That's what you're looking for. be sure once you get your chicken in to the other side, obviously, that you season the other side. So we're just gonna get this browned up. Once it's browned, we'll add our vegetables in and we'll let the meat kind of rest on the board, and we will chop it up into cubes to go back into our rice and finish cooking in the oven. Just gave our chicken the second flip. Once it's golden brown on the other side, get our aromatics. The rest of our chicken has come out. Gonna go ahead and get our aromatics in. This is kind of gotta be the base for this rice dish. I'm gonna saute these till they get nice and translucent. Alright, so my pan was looking a little dry, so I added in some butter. You kind of want these vegetables to, like I said, cook down and aid you in scraping all those lovely brown bits from the bottom of the pan. All those caramelized bits at the bottom of the pan are going to add extra flavor to your rice. I also added a little salt and pepper because I wanted these vegetables to sweat. To this, I've added that frozen celery, onion, and bell pepper that I had. I find that mixture in the frozen section is really heavy on the celery, which is why I'm not concerned about the other elements. I just needed some celery because, again, I didn't have any on hand. So what I would suggest, as opposed to buying that, just add a couple stalks of celery in with your carrots, bell peppers, onions, and 2 cloves of garlic. This was about half a white onion, so you can use white or brown, half of a green bell pepper, and 2 carrot stalks. So I would also, like I said, add in 2 stalks of celery just to saute down. This is the base of the rice. This is what they like to call the sofrito. This is where you are going to develop the most flavor, because this is going to determine how flavorful your rice dish is, the base. Our vegetables have kind of almost cooked down, so I'm going to get started cubing up this chicken. The reason why you want to let it rest on some sort of surface is you want those juices, you want to be able to keep those juices that run onto the board to add them back into your rice. So just little 1-inch cubes. As I chop, I want to add to the pot. Like I said, this is only brown on the outside. It's not cooked at all in the middle, which is fine. This dish is going into the oven. I assure you it will cook through and also come out a little tender for you. Just want to seal in the juices by searing the meat. Okay, we got all our chicken chopped up and in the pot. I'm just going to saute this for a few minutes, and then I'm going to deglaze with about half a cup of wine, maybe 3/4 cup. Going to add in the condensed soup and our hot chicken. To this, I'm going to add in half cup of white wine and our condensed soup. Let's give that a good stir. It's going to make this rice really creamy. Then to this, I'm going to get in our hot Chicken broth goes in. I'm gonna let this come to a quick boil, and then we're gonna add in our rice. Make sure we give it a good stir. Then we're gonna put on a lid, put it in the oven for 30 to 45 minutes or until all the water has evaporated. All right, we're boiling. Gonna get our rice in. This is 2 cups of rice. Give it a good stir. This is why you kind of want to have your water already hot. Process will go a lot quicker. Or not your water, but your chicken broth. And of course, if all you have is water, you can go with that. You just would have to impart a little extra seasoning to ensure, you know, that your rice won't come out bland. And at this point, you know, prior to adding the rice, I would advise tasting it. Your seasoning should be spot on because we put in seasoned chicken broth. So there shouldn't be much seasoning you would need to add to this. Plus, the flavor is going to concentrate in the oven as well as the liquid evaporates. So this is good. We've stirred it plenty. All the rice grains should be separated, which is what you want when you put your rice in the oven. Again, in the oven at 350, 30 to 45 minutes, and dinner is served. I would advise serving this with any vegetable of your choice on the side. This rice has just come out of the oven. As you can see, the rice is perfectly cooked. It's piping hot. It's absorbed all the flavor from all of the add-ins we have inside this pot. Just give it a stir. Make sure your chicken is evenly distributed on the side with some sauteed vegetables. Dinner is served.